sex in the champagne room, says who? Maybe we could break all the rules, me and you. Maybe we could break all the rules and bring it through, and we could get it poppin'. Ain't no sex in the champagne room, says who? Maybe we could break all the rules, me and you. Maybe we could break all the rules and bring it through, and we could get it poppin'. Champagne pouring all night to the
All displays of negativity.
Now we know what success is. Cash in my hands, that's something an evolution. When it comes to pulling women, they decide I'm never choosing. Excuse my next move, I move like I'm playing chess. You can call me Magnus Carlsen, I'll be playing with the. Ain't no sex in the champagne room, says who? Maybe we could break all the rules, me and you. Maybe we could break all the rules and bring it through, and we could get it poppin'. Ain't no sex in the champagne room, says who? Maybe we could break all the rules, me and you. Maybe we could break all the rules and bring it through, and we could get it poppin'.
Deliciously repackaged
and promptly returned to sender. Only good vibes allowed beyond this point. Now, if you're ready, come on in. For your invitation, to experience the clink, the chaos, and all of the empowerment you desire. There's a secret in the bottle, the bottle, the bottle. I just can't get a little clink with chaos, you know we got some. Hella hood with class, baby, I'm 2 in 1. Come sip and save it so we can spill some. And if you lost your way, we'll leave the light on. There's a secret in the bottle, the bottle, the bottle. I just can't get enough. Champagne Secrets. Welcome to the Champagne Room for our first episode of Mess and Relaxation. And we are launching it with our champagne letters. To find this video after tonight, it will be located in the Night Secretzz section of the channel. And that section is dedicated to providing whatever you need to fulfill your nighttime indulgences to help you relax. It may be some ASMR in there coming soon. Who knows what I may create next? And the champagne room, baby, the champagne room is for our grown and sexy conversations. And you already know it goes down in the champagne room, baby. So make sure those babies are put to bed, because you know kids can't be in the room when grown folk are talking. Yeah, we old school over here. And let's get ready to get into it. I'm sipping on my Moet and Chandon Imperial Rosé, one of my favorite drinks of choice. Drop in the comments and let me know what you're sipping on tonight. Tell me, what drink gets you in the mood and has you ready to ooh la la la? But before we do, come on now, raise those glasses high in the air. Here's to the beautiful chaos that life brings and the sweet serenity of finding peace amidst it. May we embrace the mess, for it's in those moments that we discover our true strength and resilience. Let's toast to relaxation, to taking those precious moments to breathe, unwind, and to nurture our souls. In the stillness, may we find clarity and rejuvenation. And remember, in every bit of disorder and calm, we are always growing. So here's to us, to our journey, and to knowing that we are more than capable of handling whatever comes our way. Cheers to strength, peace, and unwavering belief in ourselves. And cheers to you, confidant, for you are worth it. So as always, I'm gonna let you know that the first half of this video is pre-recorded until I get my engagement up in my chats and get more people coming into the panel where we can have open discussions, and then I won't have the pre-recorded videos, maybe. But until then, the first half is going to be pre-recorded so that I actually have some commentary on the video. And then if I have people in the chat who may want to come up and discuss the champagne letter with me, drop some champagne bottles, I'll drop the link and you can come up and join me. All right? let's get ready to get into it. So as many of you know, if you've been around me or with me any amount of time, that I'm also a personal vision coach. So what I did is I put some fillers out there and asked a few of the people that I am engaging with and coaching to send me some letters. And I would call these my champagne letters and to make them anonymous. And what I'm going to start doing is reacting to some of these letters on live. And I want to get your opinions on what you think the issues are in the letters and how do you think the issues can be resolved. That makes sense? All right, let's get into it. So the first letter says, Dear Champagne Secretzz, I'm reaching out with a struggle that's creating a rift in my relationship, and I'm at a loss for how to address it. I found myself yearning for something that my partner seems reluctant to entertain, a desire to explore new dimensions of intimacy together. I want to bring new experiences into our relationship and to add spice and excitement. It's not about dissatisfaction, it's about craving for variety, for something that ignites our passion anew. I've expressed my interest in exploring these realms, but my partner seems hesitant, even opposed to the idea. This disparity in desires has started to feel like an emotional barrier. The lack of openness to my desires is becoming a turnoff itself. It's not just the specific act, but the feeling of being unable to share this part of myself with the person I love deeply. It feels like an unmet need, and it's causing a growing sense of disconnection. I respect my partner's boundaries and don't want to pressure them into something they're uncomfortable with. But at the same time, this unfulfilled desire is causing a strain on our intimacy. How do I navigate this delicate balance between honoring my partner's boundaries and addressing my own needs? Is there a way to bridge this gap and to find common ground that satisfies both of us, without sacrificing the essence of our relationship? Any advice on how to broach this topic respectfully without causing any further distance would be helpful. Thank you for understanding and any insights you can provide. Sincerely, yearning and longing. Ooh, this is gonna be good. So I'm about to drop the link in the chat, and if anyone wants to come up to have a discussion, remember, keep it classy now. We can't get too raunchy, but come on up and let's chat, because sincerely yearning and longing need some assistance. And I'm sure there's more sincerely yearnings and longings out there. So come on up, let's talk about it. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. I don't show mine. But I'm dropping the link, and I will continue my commentary. When it's concluded, I will start letting you up. Are those glasses still filled? All right, I see I have one in the background waiting. Progressive one, go ahead and unmute. You are on the stage. Let's have a conversation. How are you today?
I am well, and yourself?
I am wonderful. Thank you for joining me again on the panel.
It's my pleasure. I am always there for classy, and I'm also there for a little bit of the chaos as well when it calls for.
Oh, so you like the clink and chaos then, huh?
I definitely do.
So let's get into this champagne letter. So what do you think?
I think that we have to I'm always a firm believer in you have to look at the beginning of a thing. And even when you talk about something like intimacy, the average person, especially in day-to-day life, they're always putting themselves last. And I think intimacy is not a place that is skipped and where people do it. And in reference to intimacy, if there's something that you need, and especially if you're in a relationship, you need to be able to come to some type of, I don't want to say compromise because I don't like that word, but some type of accommodation to be able to make sure that your partner is okay. Because wherever there's a void, there's always something or someone looking to fill it. So you have to do what you have to do to maintain what you say you love, in my opinion.
So here was my thing, right? So the beginning of the champagne letter. So the first thing that she said was, she's reaching out about a struggle. He or she, I'm sorry, it's anonymous. But they're reaching out, or did she say she? Okay, we'll figure it out. But they're reaching out about a struggle that's creating a rift in the relationship. My question would be, when did this rift occur?
Mhm.
Has this always been a rift? Has this always been a concern? Is this something that happened to start off small that over time progressed to what you see now?
Mhm.
Or is this something that just kind of happened? Because I'm a firm believer that nothing kind of just happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
what do you
guess we
think?
I guess we just have to kick it back and forth because we only got what the person put on the letter. So you have to kick it back and forth. There's so many different scenarios and different reasons why intimacy usually goes awry. It could
Right,
be someone choose to be less sexier or than they were when they began. It could be that someone ceased to be the aggressor or whatever the case may be. Something changed that throwed off their chemistry. Intimacy at its best is a rhythm. And whenever the beat is off, you're off. And
absolutely.
any couple who's been together for any amount of time, you could tell the difference between a okay, we here, let's go, versus a I've been waiting all day, let's get it. There it sounds the same, but it's a difference.
So, question for you. And before going on, because we're gonna like go through this letter piece by piece. You gonna be my co-host today,
I got you.
since it's just us in the chat.
I got you. Let's
We
get it.
can look. You gonna be a part of my video today, Progressive. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I'm with it.
So listen. Here's my thing, right? Have you ever been in a relationship for a long period of time? Because in this situation, it's someone who's been in a relationship for a while, where you noticed a rift. When did you start to notice that rift? Did you notice the rift when it started rifting? Or did you notice the rift after it was already rifted? Because a lot of times that's where we make the mistake in relationships. We don't notice it in the beginning. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I heard once before that you never call the fire department when there's a full blaze. You call the fire department when you smell smoke.
Mhm.
So have you ever been in a relationship and there was a rift? At what point did you notice that rift in your relationship? Or did you notice it?
I noticed the rift in a previous relationship, definitely, and especially in relation to the topic when the intimacy was different. When you're really into someone and someone is really into you, it's a clean cut, classic, animalistic passion. It's not just a lazy take me. It's not just a lazy touch me. It's not a lazy kiss me. Everything in relation to what you're giving to that person, even if it's not necessarily leading to an act, it's so fireful and passion felt. Even if you're not going to do it, it's definitely crossing your mind because you know what you do, when you do, how you do, when you come together. If it's good.
So that you noticed the rift when the intimacy changed, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it an immediate thing or was it after a while?
It was after a while. And I think it was after a while because it's very easy to throw off balance intimacy in a relationship, especially when you have to deal with the world around you. And if not careful and you don't shield it out, it's going to creep into that bubble of your intimacy to where your mind sometimes is somewhere else. You're not trying to steer clear of where you are in the moment of where you are, but you have so many life issues going on that is throwing you off, or whatever the case may be. It could have been an old argument where you felt like it should have been an apology didn't happen. It could be anything.
Right.
But if couples would be honest, you can feel when it's off. You may not be able to necessarily pinpoint what it is, but you can feel where it's off. And 9 times out of 10, When a relationship is off, it's going to start with the intimacy. Somebody say, no, it starts with the money. No, it's going to start with the intimacy. Because before you used to get a morning kiss, the last 6 weeks, the last several months, whatever the case may be, you ain't got one of those. You used to get a back rub before you went to bed. Now you don't get that. Now you just get a cold back. All of these little things. But
I feel you.
if not careful with being consumed with the world around you, you don't notice said things until it's too late.
So in the words of Cat Williams, being in tune with your star player.
You definitely gotta be.
You got a star player on your team, but you playing in the crowd.
Yeah, you gotta protect it. But I don't know what has happened to relationships and what has happened to what we call relationships, because I remember when hearing about from seasoned individuals on how they handle what we call love in this era, and there's definitely something lacking, because those individuals say that, and I'm pretty sure that's probably why they had 14, 15, 16 kids outside of needing the help to do what they needed to do. But they enjoyed being with each other, whether it was over a bowl of rice or whether it was over a steak. They enjoyed being with each other, and their intimacy was always on display, whether it was low key or whether it was up front, whether it was a gal, you looking good scooting around here in that dress, or a look from across the room, or whatever the case may be.
So
And
I think one of the things that we have here, and one of the problems that we have in relationships, is there's a lack of communication.
True.
Because the next thing that she says in the letter is, I'm at a loss on how to address it, which means that you're having an issue in communication. Number one, why isn't this something that your partner already knows about you? Even if it was a desire that came up later on down the line, right? As soon as the desire arose, why not share with your partner? Why get to the place where you're yearning for it? Because for something to turn into a yearning, that means you wanted this for a while. You wanted something for a while, and whatever you wanted began to grow because it wasn't addressed. So it sounds like to me that they're having a problem in relationship. And one of the biggest problems in intimacy, I can't be intimate with you if I can't communicate with you. Because communication in itself is intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I think that in reference to what you pointed out that the young person had said in the letter, I don't think she's at a loss for words. I think she's afraid. I think that's another issue that's disrupting intimacy among a number of couples. You have individuals that are literally afraid to express and be themselves with someone who they say that they love. There should be nothing, if I love you and if we're in a relationship, that I could not be able to bring to you,
Well,
especially
now,
in relation to intimacy.
now when you say nothing, progressive one,
Mm-hmm.
nothing encompasses of a lot of things.
It does.
So if your significant other came to you and said, I want you and another brother, so you're telling me that still falls within that nothing?
There still falls within that nothing if you bring it openly to me and communicate to me. Don't go do something I got to find out on my own, and make sure that his swords stay on his side and I make sure mine stays on my side.
So you're willing to open up Pandora's box.
I mean, what do you do? It's a catch-22. Either you meet your significant other where they need to be met at, or you stand a strong chance of your significant other finding someone else who's willing to fill the void that you're constantly trying to step over.
So your significant other wants to go to a sex club.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to explore all of these scenarios for yearning and longing.
Mm-hmm.
So that hopefully one of these scenarios fits where he or she happens to be in their relationship. So they want to go to a sex club because they're curious. You would go
I
and
definitely,
participate.
I definitely would go, but that's where what you pointed out, where communication comes in. I would communicate to my partner, I'm willing to go and I'm willing to experience this with you, for you. Of course, I would enjoy it too if we decided to engage, but I'm just saying I'm doing this for you and I'm going with you. But I'm going to make sure I communicate when I address what a boundary is. It's not my attempt to control you. I'm just letting you know what will make me feel comfortable and or uncomfortable. So I will communicate what my boundaries are. I'm not about to be letting nobody be spanking me in the room and whatever other people so choose to do. If you do that, hey, that's your choice. More power to you. But that's not something that I want to get into.
Now, on the flip side, let's flip it. Let's say you had a desire and put yourself in yearning and longing shoes. You had a desire that you want to experience or share with your significant other, but your significant other isn't quite as open to it. What do you do?
I would discuss with my partner and kind of see so that I can understand where she's coming from in the matter, because if I presented it, I know what I want. So I would communicate with my partner to kind of understand where she was coming from and why she's saying, no, I'm not willing to do that, so that I can have a clear-cut understanding. I think a lot of times when people get an answer that they don't want or that they weren't expecting, they immediately shut down, and then there's no resolution. It's just like you said, communication. With proper communication, you may be able to come to a different understanding, or an understanding that meets what would be a proverbial middle for me and my lady, if that was the case.
Is there a no-go for you in new experiences in the relationship?
Me personally,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm down for new experience. My whole thing is, and being on the rug and honest. My whole thing is with embracing new experiences. I don't want it to be where it turns into like a movie situation, and you open yourself up, you get into a new experience, and you and your partner may be going in, and y'all going in literally to explore and to just have fun, but you may have somebody that may take it a little bit more serious.
Right. Now,
So a
one thing
situation.
that you mentioned was boundaries, right?
Hmm.
What would your boundaries be?
Oh
Like,
wow.
would your boundary be, what I mean by that, would your boundary be, okay, this is going to be a one and done? This is
Hmm.
going to be okay, twice a year? What is going to be your boundary? Because if you're opening up and you're saying, okay, I'm going to let my lady know that I'm open to whatever new experience that she wants to try, but this is going to be my boundary. Like, this can't be a everyday thing that every time I turn around there's somebody else in the bedroom. What does that boundary look like?
My
Because,
boundary is.
and the reason that I asked that, and then I'm gonna
Mhm.
let you continue,
Go ahead.
because when she was talking in the letter, she said it's about craving a variety. What
Hmm.
does variety mean? Does variety mean variety of individuals or variety of new experiences? Because that kind of leaves it up to interpretation. And it could be why
Definitely
her partner's scared as hell. Because she
true.
might not be specific enough, but she said that she wants to ignite their passion, like refresh it. So apparently they've lost something and they're trying
Yeah,
to regain it.
definitely. And that's where, oh man, that's where she will maybe want to, depending on what the situation is, if it's just a situation of just kind of spicing it up, variety, doing something different. uh start light, and then kind of build your partner up. Start with some cosplay, dress
But
up.
for you, what's your boundary though?
Oh, for me, my boundaries personally. I thought we were talking about that situation there. So me,
No, I'm saying what would be your boundary
my
with
boundaries
in this
personally.
situation as far as if she wants to do it, yes, we can do it, but this is the
Gotcha,
boundary. It can't be
gotcha.
every day. It can't
Yeah,
be.
this is the
Do you
boundary.
have a boundary?
Yeah, I have a number of uh one. Uh, we would keep an eye on the frequency in which we went. Two, we would never go individual. Three, no repeat, no matter how good it is, but especially if it's a good one, no repeats.
You mean
That's
no
it.
repay? So if you go back to the same club, it can't be with
Hmm.
the same individual, is what you're
Right,
saying.
right. And
Okay.
then, so that way, matter of fact, let me just put it on the rug. I'm not. I mean, we here and we talking. First of all, I'm just gonna put it on individuals that you knew was good. Because first of all, if it was bad, you're not going back anyway. But individual that you know was good, like whoa, like okay, fam on another level. Fam on another level. Okay, so leave that individual where he is. Because ain't nobody trying to have their home broke up.
Okay. Okay. I understand that. So then she goes on to say it's starting to feel like an emotional barrier. So it seems like this is something that's deeper than just an external feeling for her
Hmm.
or him.
She, he, she, whoever sounds like they had a whole lifestyle before their partner, and once they got with their partner, that part of their lifestyle ended.
So do you think
No,
that's a form of deception to not share that before you got with this individual?
I would say yes and no, because it goes back to the point I made earlier. It's more times than not, people don't feel like they have an open door with their significant other. So more times than not, they're operating out of fear instead of out of love with whoever their designated partner is. You should be able to say to your partner if and with no shame, like baby, when you down there, or baby, when you do this, I need for you to do this a little bit longer. Or I need for you to, hold this like this. Or whatever the case may be, or baby, like I really, really want you to, use
You
my
know,
words on me. Or whatever the case may be. That was pretty light, but we keeping it classy.
you
I'm just
know, yeah. Hmm.
use my rose on me. But baby, I don't. But okay, for you, I got
Because I feel like, okay, so we said in the beginning that two of the biggest things that break up relationships, number one is sex, number two is money. These
it.
are
Hmm.
the two biggest things. And the
Hmm.
third for me, I would say is communication. Because if you don't communicate, then you're definitely going to have a problem with sex. You're definitely going to have a problem with money. And
Hey,
I
because
think I think sex has become so taboo that somehow, which I don't understand, especially in this day and age where sex is everywhere, that you will have a problem communicating what your desires are to your significant other, to the point where it becomes an emotional barrier. You should be able
Mhm.
to communicate anything with your significant other. This person is supposed to be your emotional, mental, spiritual, physical safe place. Anything I'm feeling, anything I'm going through, anything I want, my deepest desires, I ought to be able to share with my significant other because this person is safe for me.
so
Why are you laughing?
so flip the script and say that that the shoe was on the other foot, and the individual that was writing in was saying, um, I just would really like to some days just come in and I want you to, with no discussion, begin to engage in relationship. I need that from you. I'm not asking for it every day, but especially when if you feel like, or it look like I need for you to make that happen. But what if we're not at home? What if we're not at home? As long as we in a discreet place.
But see, that goes back to that openness. Is this something that you shared with your significant other before they became significant? Hey, every now and then I might like a little adventure. I might want to go out in the woods, in the park,
Well, ain't
and
going
just
in the
have
wood.
fun and be open and free. Is this the conversation that you had with them? Because that's where we run into the problem at. We have these relationships, right? And we fall for these individuals that we don't give them the full us. And then all of a sudden we're in this relationship and now I'm tied to you. And now all of a sudden you want to tell me what your barriers are, right? So what do you think?
Again, I really do think it's because of fear. And then you pointed out earlier that the person that you with is supposed to be your mental, your spiritual, for all intents and purposes, your fortified safe place where you could say what you need to say, you could express what you need to express, and there's no judgment there, there's no criticism there, there's no whatever the case may be that would keep it from being a proper and fluid flow of love. But more times than not, that's not the case. I mean, because it happens all the time because a person is afraid. So they 9 times out of 10 they don't present all of themselves. They present themselves in pieces. I give
Right.
you this little part of me because who's really going to, if they're into that, be like, baby, hey, I know we've been together for a while, but I want you to try something different. And she be like, yeah, I'm with it. Like, I really like wearing clown suits when I'm getting to it. Where do you
Yeah.
go with it? Somebody be like, where do you compromise? No, you can't put that
Absolutely.
paint, no paint, no wig. Put the nose and the shoes on. Let's go.
But again, that's why I said I think a lot of that comes to communication because
Yeah.
the individual that you're with should automatically know what it is that you want and what it is that you desire. That should be a given. That should be an automatic. Um,
Yeah.
Another thing that she said is she respects her partner's boundaries and don't want to pressure them. So to me, it feels like that means she's caught in a catch 2020 because on one hand, you don't want to feel like you're pressuring your partner, but on the other hand, you feel like you have these deeply rooted, unresolved issues. So what do you feel like you do? Or have you ever been in a situation such as this where you had a significant other or you yourself wanted something deeply, your significant other didn't want to provide it, you didn't want to pressure them, but you still wanted your needs met? What do you do in that situation?
Initially, honestly, you get upset, depending on what it is. You get upset, but then after you sit with it and you think to yourself, I love this individual. Like realistically, no movie stuff, no crap. Like I love this individual. And if this is what it would take, or this is what it would take for this individual to be happy, and if I can look myself in the mirror the following day, I'm going. Because either I love you or I don't. If I love you, I don't want to see you miserable. And I don't want to see you in anguish about anything. If I can help it.
Now, this is where you kind of run into those morals and values, right? Because what if the experimentation that she wants to experience goes against what he believes are boundaries religiously.
Yeesh. Now, if you're
Now,
gonna go that route, then
see, that's where it gets tricky, because when it comes to religion, a lot of people have their set standards, right?
hmm
Now, I'm a Christian. Get me wrong. I believe in the Bible, the Word of God, and all of that. But here's my thing. I know the Bible says the marriage bed is undefiled. Now, I don't know whether or not they married or not. But at some point, you have to stop and think about whether or not this is something you truly believe, whether or not this is something that has been pressed on you by religion, or whether or not this is something you can do without. What do you think?
I guess if you're looking at it from that standpoint, as far as a person's belief, I cannot go against that. I don't care what said person believes in, whether they're a Buddhist, a Christian, or a Muslim, whatever the case may be. If this person has set beliefs, then in that instance, I have to make a decision if I'm going to be okay without getting that particular piece that I may want. Because then that goes back to the essence of what I said of real love. You don't want to see your partner in anguish just for you to be able to get some instant gratification. Because at the end of the day, it should be in its proper context that nothing is bigger than the love.
I hear, well, then you can flip that around on the other side to that partner. Do you think that religion can play a big role in what your significant other is willing to do and what they're not willing to do? And do you think it can cause a barrier? Because what if I'm not on the same level as you, right? What if I believe God, I love God, but I still believe in the enjoyment of intimacy and the excitement that can come with it?
hmm
So as your significant other, you love me so as well. So do I remain unfulfilled because
If
of
we
what
take
you believe religiously? Because your conviction may not be my conviction. So what do you do in a relationship when you have two individuals with two different convictions?
I guess you would have to go back to one where you originally began, and you were saying in reference to if a person tells you where they are up front, you really have no, for all intents and purposes, any backing to be able to push against whatever person said boundary is. Because if the individual came in saying this is my belief system and this is what I believe, then you're trying to push against that, then that's a whole nother ball of wax. Versus a person who is just for all intents and purposes living life fluidly and enjoying and exploring and discovering. Those are two type of different individuals.
So then it goes back really to that communication that we spoke about in the beginning. These are
hmm
things that, so here's my synopsis of the whole thing. Because the last question that she asked is there a way to bridge the gap to find common ground that satisfies both of us without sacrificing the essence of our relationship? So here's my thing. Number one, there has to be communication, right? Total communication. There shouldn't be anything about your significant other that someone else can tell you that you don't already know about your significant other, and vice versa. That means you ought to know what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. You ought to know what their favorite sexual position is. You ought to know how often do they like to have sex. You need to know whether or not they still have desires for other people, whether they have desires for a menage a trois, whether they have desires for an orgy. These are things that need to be discussed in the beginning of the relationship. If you do not discuss this in the beginning, then you are setting your relationship up for failure, because what happens is you run the risk of ending up exactly where yearning and longing is right now, because these desires weren't talked about in the beginning. So now you're trying to figure it out in the middle, when you could have a situation where what you are requesting is going against their beliefs. So now they're looking at you and telling you to stop tripping, and you're looking at them and telling them to stop tripping, and neither one is being satisfied in the middle, because communication didn't successfully happen in the beginning. It's all about communication. And until we learn how in in relationships, to effectively communicate with each other, which means also, you ought to know what makes me mad. You ought to know what makes me angry. You ought to know what makes me sad. You ought to know what's a turn on for me. You ought to know what's a turn off for me. You ought to know what color I look best in your eyes. You ought to know what color I look best in my eyes. What kind of clothes best accentuates my shape. There's nothing about me you should not know if you're my significant other. Vice versa, the same way. If I'm with you and you're my man, there's nothing I should know about you. I should know what you want when you get in from work. Sexually, mentally, emotionally, I should know what kind of food you like and what kind of food you like for me to prepare for you. I should know what kind of cologne you like. I should know what kind of cologne best accentuates your skin and comes off of you smelling the greatest. There's nothing about you that I should not know if I'm your significant other. Excuse me. Otherwise, you run into situations like this, where you're desperately longing, and now there's starting to be a disconnection, because you're trying to invite your significant other into your world, but you didn't even share with them there was another world before you got into this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would beg to question, if I would have shared this with you before, would you still be with me?
And there goes the fear. Yep, there goes the fear. If I tell you this, will you look at me the same? Will
Right.
you want to be with me? Will you think I'm crazy? Will you think I'm a creep?
And then you would have to question if it's really love, if it's really true love, or if it was just infatuation. Because a lot of times we fall in love with the infatuation. We're not truly in love. We just fell in love with being infatuated. And because we thought it was love, we held on to it, lock, chain, barrel, stock and barrel, and didn't let it go, until you realize later on down the line that this probably isn't where you should have been all along.
Yeah.
So communication is the key. Yearning and longing. Communication is going to be the key. At this point, because you guys have been together for a while, and since I'm not sure if you even shared this with them in the beginning, or if you're just sharing it now, that you're at this place and trying to invite them in. But if you want this relationship to work, you're going to have to sit your significant other down and have a conversation with them about this desire that you have, and make sure that this desire does not cross their boundary. Because if you're a woman and he's a man, I'm sure he has boundaries. You're not just going to be randomly taking nothing and putting it up to shoot. You're not going to be randomly requesting that you see him with another man. Now, there's certain boundaries I'm going to tell you in the beginning. You might as well hang it up and go and watch a flick because it's not gonna happen if you're dealing with a man's man. Now there
And
has
then
to be levels to this.
too, whoo, I'm about to go deep. Now, you may be opening up a Pandora's box for if this is a young lady with a man and he's trying to steer clear of men because that was a former lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you put him in that situation and he decides he likes that lifestyle again and may like that lifestyle more than a lifestyle that you develop or are trying to develop with
Or
or
vice
her.
versa.
Yeah, or her.
On her end as well. You trying to bring someone in and realize that you like that individual more. Or what do you do when you decide that you want to have that threesome? You want to do that menage, and the individual that you bring in is a better lover than your partner. What
It
do
takes
you do? See, these are the dangers when we play the whole I want to spice up the relationship game.
it
Are
takes a
you sure you're ready to deal with the spice that comes along with that?
it takes a strong individual to be in the same vicinity or right next to each other, and you hear your significant other sounding like they never sound with you before.
Absolutely. How do you handle that?
Hey,
These are the things. It's okay to have desires, but sometimes we need to have desires within reason,
mm,
because you could be in trying to fulfill a desire, setting yourself and your relationship up for failure
true.
because of your desire. Maybe you need to just write a book.
That part.
Write you a Zane novel. Write you a novel and see if you can get it out your system. Find if you feel like you cannot communicate or you have communicated, or this may
Hey,
be a boundary that you're go ahead.
that might be a problem too, because she might come out with 6 degrees of penetration.
You did not
Oh,
have a man or significant other at all. That's why communication is going to be such a key. It's going to be such a key in a situation like this, yearning and longing. So you want to communicate with your significant other and let them know how this is making you feel. And sit down and get with your partner and figure out creative ways to fulfill that need that you feel like you desire without crossing a boundary for your significant other. Because
and then
there's so many ways to enjoy your partner without crossing boundaries. So sit down and think of creative ways to spice up the relationship that does not cross a boundary.
I'm going to say to you, whomever you are, somebody gonna laugh when they hear this, but that's okay. Before you have a discussion such as this, I implore you to engage your partner like you never have before. So that way, when you do have this discussion, the both of you are relaxed, you're calm, and you'll be able to get a good flowing conversation. That's just my two.
Listen, I would have to concur on this one, especially depending on what it is that you're trying to spice up this relationship with. Sweetie,
Mhm.
you need to drain that man. And maybe that's the problem. That maybe that's another problem. Maybe it's because you're so busy thinking about other things. Could it possibly be that you've lost luster in the bedroom?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we spend time looking at the other person. What if the issue in the situation is you and not them?
Mhm. How do you handle that though? If you feel like your partner isn't good at it and you know that they could.
You have to have a conversation. I mean, everything goes back to communication.
Yeah, but just like, hey, baby.
Because if
Mm,
that's the case, then they weren't good before you said I do. So if that was a deal breaker, and if it was going to cause a problem in the relationship, then why say I do? Or why
Mm,
stay tied to this individual for long periods of time when you know that the longer you go and it's not good, it's going to be a problem?
See, this is my thing though, because it happens if not careful, where one, like you said, it has become lackluster in their performance in the boudoir, if you will. But the individual necessarily may not have been bad in the beginning, and you just like, hey, I know you Clark Kent, but or I know you whatever Supergirl name was, but I need for the super to come back.
At the end of the day, the only way that fire in intimacy dies out is if you allow it to die out.
True.
You have to find stuff. So you fell in love with this person for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this person might not have checked all your boxes of what you considered to be the excitement and spice that you needed in the bedroom, or maybe it has died out. It can only die out if you allow it to die out. Relationships break up for one or two reasons. One, someone chooses not to fight, and two, someone chooses to stop fighting. So is this a situation where you're choosing not to fight, or you're choosing to stop fighting? Because there are so many other ways that you can bring spice into the bedroom, that you can spice up your sex life, spice up your love life without having to cross a boundary that makes your partner uncomfortable. You just have to be creative enough and willing enough to fight hard enough to find it. So I feel like this is going to be on you, yearning and longing, because unless you're going to come back with another letter and tell me that he's expressed some concerns with you regarding the bedroom, then this is something that you're going to have to work hard for in order, because you don't want to leave your partner. You just want to be fulfilled. Well, how do you meet in the middle between fulfillment and crossing a boundary? That's what you're going to have to work for. And that's my thoughts on it. So before we go and end the live, Progressive One, your final thought?
Chew a lot of bubble gum, get strong, and get you a promise. You know what to do. It's gonna be okay.
Confidence. Always remember, if it doesn't cause you to elevate, it's causing you to depreciate. Now raise those glasses, clink, and let's drink till we meet again. Ta-ta.